Hey guys, Derby here. So I was on Reddit a few days ago and I saw a very interesting post, and the post was basically discussing how to upgrade your gear and how to prioritize your upgrades. And I was actually amazed at the amount of people that were interested at the math behind our stats and our attribute points. And this inspired me to make this video about stat weights and how much of each stat weighs onto how much of what stat. I was planning to make this video a while ago, but of course I never knew how many people would be interested in this kind of stuff. So I'm now going to make the video, as there is a lot of people who are interested. I'm going to put a link to the Reddit post down below in the description box, and of course you might be able to see a few of my posts as well, because I do use Reddit quite a lot. So let's get started about stat weights, and the first thing I'm going to do is straight away show you the damage formula. So this is the formula for our weapon skill. Weapon skill meaning all of the abilities that we have available to us, like heavy shot, like straight shot, like true thrust. Now, the formula looks rather complicated, but in all honesty, it really isn't. You just have to put in all of the new variables in. So, in the first line, where we have potency, that's the potency of your weapon skill. So, for example, if you're using true thrust, you'll put in 150 in there. If you're going to be using full thrust at the end of your combo, which is 300 potency, we'll put in 300 potency there. Now we have STR, which is strength. And this is where we put in our strength variables. Strength variables can also be changed with our dexterity, and I believe intelligence, but I do not know this for sure because I have never ever played on a magic based class before yet, so I don't really know how well the weapon damage scales with intelligence. And then we have WD, which is our weapon damage. So for example, with the Gibog, we'll put in 44. If we're using the Bard bow, I believe it's the Artemis bow, we'll put in a weapon damage of 40. DTR, this is our determination value, so we'll put in our determination there. And then we have our CRT, which is our critical hit rate. So one of the most frequently asked questions that I've seen all over Reddit, I've seen in multiple guilds, and I've seen multiple times over at Revenant's Toll, is should I pick the AF2 chest over my Relic weapon, over my Relic +1? Now I'm going to tell you this, 8 times out of 9, because there are 9 jobs, you should always pick the Relic +1. The only other time where you may say you want to pick the AF2 chest over the Relic weapon is for the Bard. Now I'll discuss this why in a second. So for this example, I'm going to be using my Dragoon, and I'm going to show you guys why picking your Relic weapon, your Relic +1, will be better than picking your AF2 chest. The first thing you will see is that our Dark Light Cuirass has 20 strength, 22 vitality, 18 determination, and 19 skill speed. And now we're going to compare it to our AF2 chest, our Wyrm's Mail, which has 29 strength, 33 vitality. We now have critical hit rate instead of accuracy, and now we have determination. This gives us a hefty boost of 11 vitality, 9 strength, and 6 determination, with a boost of 24 critical hit rate. Now that seems like a lot. We're getting an extra 11 vitality and 9 strength, plus the determination. And now if we compare the Gibog with the Relic +1, for this we have 27 strength, 30 vitality, 33 accuracy, and 23 critical hit rate. And for the Gibog, we have 31 strength, which is a boost of 4 strength, 35 vitality, which is a boost of 5 vitality, 37 accuracy, and 26 critical hit rate. So you may be thinking to yourself right now, I'm going to pick the Wyrm's Mail. Wyrm's Mail seems so much more sturdier, it seems so much more powerful, but you're wrong. That +2 weapon damage that we get from the Relic +1 over the Gibog is such a huge upgrade. Now I'm going to show you right now why the Relic +1 gives us a bigger damage difference than the Wyrm's Mail. And for this, we're going to go to a beautiful website which I always love going to, which is known as Valk.Dancing-Mad.com. This website has been created by a Reddit user named Valky. Now he is an amazing theory crafter, and if it wasn't for this guy, along with another guy called Dr. Mog, who is also one of the Final Fantasy XIV Reddit moderators, and both of them have done a lot of research about the damage formula and other mechanics in this game, and this website is basically a theory crafter's haven. So we're going to be using the physical damage returns calculator on this website. Now, as you can see, we're going to be using the base stats of an average level 50 who has just geared up in his Dark Light chest, a relic weapon, and maybe a few Dark Light accessories. Your average level 50 will have 450 strength, 250 determination, 44 weapon damage if he's a dragoon or a monk, 45.76 weapon auto attack, because we're using the dragoon for this example, 390 critical hit rate, and 400 skill speed. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit about stat weights, and we're going to be using 100 potency weapon skill for this example. So we're going to see how much determination we need to make up for 1 strength. Well, if we put in 1 strength over here to bring up our new strength to 431, as you can see, we have a weapon skill increase of 0.2% and an overall weapon damage increase of 0.25. This equates to 6.89 determination. As you can see, it is roughly the same. 0.20 weapon skill increase, 0.25 absolute increase. Now remember, these are all rounded up integers, these are all rounded up decimals. If I really wanted to work it out accurately, it'll be, 6.89221114 reoccurring or something stupid like that. So just for argument's sake, we're rounding it up to the nearest hundredth. So now we know that 1 strength is exactly the same as 6.89 determination. We're now going to see how much strength we need to make up for 1 point of weapon damage. So we're going to put in 45 weapon damage, and as you can see, we have an overall weapon skill increase of 1.45, which in total has an absolute damage increase of 1.87. We need roughly 7.4 strength to make up for 1 new weapon damage. Fair enough. So now we know that 1 weapon damage is equal to 7.4 strength, and 1 strength is equal to 6.89 determination. We can assume that 6.89 times 7.4, 50.986. So we can assume that we need 50.896 determination to make up for 1 new weapon damage. Now as you can see here, 1.45 weapon skill increase with a 1.86 absolute damage increase. So now that you guys have seen stat weights and how much of X stat equals to B stat, I'm going to show you guys with my current stats why I'd pick the Gibolg +1 over the Wyrm's Mail. I know this looks rather crap and basic, but it's good enough just to demonstrate my point. So up here we have our Darklight Cuirass versus our Wyrm's Mail, and the difference between all their stats, which is 9 strength, 11 vitality, 6 determination, plus 24 critical hit rate. Now for our Relic +1, we have +2 weapon damage, 5 vitality, 4 accuracy, and 3 critical hit rate. Now, just looking at the base stats here, we can see that the Wyrm Mail gives us so much more defenses and a lot more damage, just based off the base attributes, our affixes. But now let's look at the weapon damage. We have 2 extra weapon damage here, which means 6.89 multiplied by 2 is 13.78, which is already higher than the Wyrm's Mail. And on top of that anyway, we have an extra 4 strength, so I've got to put that in. So I've got to put this in, but we have an extra 4 strength from the Gibolg +1 over the normal Gibolg, so that equals to 17 strength, which is now 8 higher than the Wyrm's Mail. Do you see my point here? That you shouldn't just look at the base affixes, you should take into account the weapon damage and all of our other stats. And I'll prove it to you right here, right now. So, with the Wyrm smell, we're going to increase our strength by 9 to give us the 4, 4, 8. Our determination is now going to increase by 6, taking us to 270. And now we're going to have a 1.89 weapon skill increase with a 2.48 absolute damage increase. Let's reset these, and now we're going to change these into the Bulk stats, which is an extra 2 weapon damage, an extra 4 strength, as you can see here, 3.86 weapon damage increase percent, and 4.38 absolute damage increase. And that is why you should pick the Bulk over your Wyrm's Mail. However, as you can see, the Wyrm's Mail has a lot more vitality. So we have 11 extra vitality over the Dark Light Cuirass, which is basically 6 more vitality over the Bulk. So if you want to spec your character more defensively and lose out on a bit of damage, you would want to pick the Wyrm's Mail. So you may remember at the beginning of this video I said that gearing up for the Bard is slightly different. Now I'm going to discuss why. Now this is a friend of mine. He is a level 50 Bard. He is kitted up in pretty much every single Dark Light accessory that you can get, plus a Toxic Toes ring. And then he has every single Dark Light item except for the ring bands, plus he has an Artemis bow. So we're going to be using this as our average level 50 Bard who's geared up. So your average level 50 Bard will have 437 dexterity, 331 vitality, an accuracy rate of 512, a critical hit rate of 450, and determination of 242. So now we're going to go and do some comparisons like what we did before. So if we look at the Artemis bow and the Artemis bow plus 1, we can see we have an extra 4 dexterity and 1 physical damage, with an increase of 5 vitality. And now let's compare the Dark Light chest with the Bard's shirt, and we have an extra 11 vitality, 15 critical hit rate, and 9 dexterity. So if we go by the old assumption that we had before, that 1 weapon damage equals to 7.4 strength or dexterity, we can assume that the Artemis bow has an overall dexterity of 11.4, which is 2.4 more than the Bard's shirt. Now you may be saying to yourself, 2.4 extra dexterity? Oh my god, that is so much damage. But let's put the numbers into the physical damage return calculator. This is for the Bard's shirt upgrade, and we're using the base stats of the Bard that I showed from before. We have an absolute weapon skill damage increase of 2.8 damage, and a percentage increase of 1.75. And now if we look at the Artemis bow plus 1 upgrade, which is meant to have a 2.4 extra dexterity, we only have a 0.72 weapon skill damage increase and a 0.58 weapon skill percentage increase, which is tiny. 0.72 extra damage, and we haven't even considered that the Bard's shirt has the extra 15 crit and the vitality. The extra 15 crit actually values out to an extra 1% of critical hit rate, and the 11 vitality adds up to, if my math is correct, 159 HP. Would you pick the Artemis bow plus 1 and gain yourself an extra 0.72 damage, or would you pick the Bard's shirt and have yourself an extra 159 HP and 1% extra critical hit rate? Now I'm going to do a very quick segment on calculating your vitality and HP boost. And for this example, we can go back to our beautiful Bard. Now, as I previously said, picking the Bard's chest will give us an extra 159 HP. I'm going to use this Bard as an example, and I'm going to show you how you calculate it with the vitality formula. So this is our current HP formula. Very simple. We put in our current vitality value, we minus 202, multiply it by 14.5, then we add it to our base HP. You work out your base HP by seeing what your HP is by taking off all of your current gear. But for this example, when calculating how much of a vitality boost you will gain, we only want to concentrate on the second part of the equation. To calculate how much of an HP boost we'll get, what we will do is remove the base HP part, and then we'll add in our current vitality value in. So in our example, it'll be 331, and then we'll do it again with the plus 11 vitality. So instead we'll put in 342, and then we work out the difference between the two, and that will grant us our vitality boost. Well, what about critical hit rate? The same principle applies like before. This is our critical hit percentage chance formula, and we just put in our values. So in the case of our bard friend, we put in 450 crit, and we get a total of 12.699 critical hit rate. And then if we now put in his new value of 15 critical hit rate, which is 465, we'll have a total new critical hit rate of 13.7385, which is a total difference of 1.0395% critical hit rate. Now I'm going to go and talk a bit about block and parry rates. Now, block and parry works in tiers, the working thresholds. So once you reach a certain amount of strength, you can now parry a certain amount of damage. And once you reach a certain amount of strength, you can now block a certain amount of damage with your shield block. Now, please note that you cannot block and parry at the same time. So what does this all mean? Let's have two warriors, one with 364 strength, and the other warrior has 404 strength. Now you may turn around and say, well, an extra 40 strength, I must be parrying so much more damage. But you're wrong. In fact, having 364 strength will allow you to parry the exact same amount of damage as the other warrior with 404 strength. That's a 40 difference in strength, but the parry rate is exactly the same. So in other words, if you're standing at around 380 strength, there is no reason for you to be pumping your attribute points into strength, when you can just remove your attribute points and lower it down to 363 and then boost everything else into vitality. However, if you can go and get yourself an extra 1 point of strength to boost yourself to 405 strength, you are now in the next parry threshold of 25%. Your shield block value works in the exact same way. So a paladin with 337 strength will block with a shield the exact same amount of damage as another paladin with 362 strength. There is no difference in shield block value between the two. However, if that paladin with the 362 strength then gained 1 extra strength, his shield block value would still be the same. However, he'd now be in the next parry threshold. Now, how do I fit all of what I have just said into min-maxing my tank? Well, I'm going to go take a look at my warrior friend over here. He is basically your maxed out warrior. He has a Bravura +1 with a full Dark Light set with an AF2 Warrior's Gauntlets and full Dark Light accessories. His total strength, however, is minuscule. He has 369 strength. And if we take a look over here, he is 6 points above meeting the minimum threshold. In other words, there is no benefit for this warrior to put any points into strength because he is not going to be parrying any more damage. So the best option for him would be to put it all into vitality. However, the Warrior's Gauntlets has 6 more strength than the Dark Light Gauntlets, which means his total strength value would go all the way down to 363, which is the exact amount that he needs to reach the next threshold. So in other words, a warrior who has a Bravura +1, full Dark Light accessories and full Dark Light rings and a Hot Light ring should pump all of his attribute points into vitality, because there is going to be no benefit for him whatsoever in the extra strength. He's not going to parry any more damage with that extra 30 strength. So you tanks need to really study this table and take in how much strength you need to reach the next parry rate and how much strength you need to reach the next shield block value. And to me, if you're going to be investing more than 5 of your attribute points into strength to reach the next threshold, I wouldn't bother, and I'll just pump it all into vitality. Because having more than an extra 72 HP, to me, greatly outweighs you having 1% extra parry rate. And read the block and parry tables, especially if you are a tank, so you can min-max your character to be the most effective tank as possible. So hopefully you've absorbed all of the information I've told you guys, because there's a lot of information, and hopefully you can use the methods that I used in this video for you to help you guys spec your own characters and to min-max yourself. So thank you for watching. If you have any more questions, please leave the question in the comment section below and I will get around to answering the question. If there are a lot of questions, I will make another video regarding all those questions, mainly the popular ones, and I'll talk to you guys some other time.